Yeah, good morning, everyone, and I want to welcome you all to this ICGN 2025 conference and induction ceremony. I want to welcome you from anywhere you are joining, and I want to take off with the conference activities for today, and we want to recognize the Director General of the Institute of Certified Geography of Nigeria. We want to recognize all the keynote speakers that have joined us today. We want to also recognize all the inductees, the fellow inductees, and the full member inductees. I want to recognize all the participants that are joining us today. Here with us as the keynote speaker, the lead keynote speaker is Professor Precious Ede, and then we have Professor Joel Umeoduji. We also have Professor Joseph Udo, who will be taking us on their various keynote presentations. So this conference and induction ceremony is already taken off, and we will start with the opening remark by the DG, Director General of the Institute of Certified Geography of Nigeria, and we take the welcome address by the National Coordinator, and then the keynote, the lead keynote speaker, and then we move on, we keep on going that way. So we want to welcome our DG, and before we do that, I think it would be nice we take an opening prayer. We can take an opening prayer. If you are there, can you just unmute and give us an opening prayer? Yeah, anyone to volunteer?
Hello, let me pray
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, Father, we thank you for this gathering of certified geographer. Father, as we progress on this conference and this induction, Father, let it go on successfully, and let all some of my members who have said we have sent a link to join us, so we can take this institute to the greater level. Father, bless this gathering and let us come out to the meaningful debate and to see how we can move the institute forward in the next year, in 2026. So thank you, Father, for all we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So let's move straight to the opening remark by the DG who declares
Yes,
the induction ceremony open.
Okay, Dr. Vito. Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Hello?
You can go ahead. Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. It's all right then. Okay. Let me formally welcome everybody to this conference. It is a thing of joy to celebrate the year with new members coming into the Institute, and at the same time to expand the scope of the Institute as we grow from strength to strength. So I start. Distinguished keynote speaker, respected aides, professional colleagues, guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Governing Council and leadership of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria, I sincerely welcome you to the 2025 Visual Conference and Induction Ceremony of our new members. Today's program is conveyed under the theme, Repositioning Geography for Professional Development, Regional Integration, and Societal Transformation, the Pathway to West Africa's Future. This theme highlights the increasing role of geography as a profession in tackling societal challenges, enhancing regional cooperation, and promoting sustainable development. The decision to hold this year's conference virtually was taken deliberately in view of the prevailing security situation in the country. As a professional institute, ICGN is committed to advancing intellectual engagement while ensuring that no participant is exposed to avoidable risks. A key highlight of today's program is the formal induction of new members into the Institute, including fellow awardees and associate members who have been carefully assessed and found worthy based on their academic qualification, professional competence, experience, and integrity. Their induction today is both a recognition of merit and a call to higher professional responsibility. We are honored to host distinguished keynote speakers who will share insight on climate, environment, disasters risks, governance, and the future of geography in West Africa. I commend the organizing committee, speakers, and participants for their commitment in the advancement of our profession. Before I conclude, I will want to appeal to ANG to please team up with the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria to restore the life of geography and the geographer back to its former ranking. It is therefore my pleasure to formally declare the 2025 ICGN Visual Conference and Induction Ceremony open. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive and enriching program. God bless us all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Director General of ICGN, Professor Christopher Balogun, for declaring this conference and induction ceremony open. Thank you so much. We move to the next item, and that is the welcome address by the National Coordinator, Dr. Victor Sunday. And here I go. And after that, we bring in the keynote, the lead keynote speaker, Professor Precious Ade. Distinguished keynote speakers, respected inductees, invited guests, professional colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria to warmly welcome you to the 2025 Virtual Conference and Induction Ceremony. We are delighted by your presence today and deeply appreciate the time you have taken to join us from different parts of Nigeria, West Africa, and beyond. Your participation affirms our shared commitment to the advancement of geography as a profession and a vital tool for addressing contemporary society challenges. Today's conference is anchored on the theme, Repositioning Geography for Professional Development, Regional Integration, and Societal Transformation, the pathway to West Africa's future. This theme reflects our collective aspiration to strengthen the relevance of geography in policy planning, environmental governance, disaster risk reduction, and regional cooperation across West Africa. We are privileged to host distinguished keynote speakers whose expertise spans climatology, environmental management, fluvial geography, fluvial geomorphology, and disaster risk science. Their insights will enrich our discussion and inspire renewed commitment to professional excellence and impactful practice. A special welcome is extended to all our inductees, both fellow awardees and full members. We have about 7 fellow awardees and then 10 full members that will be inducted at this ceremony, who have been carefully assessed and found worthy based on academic qualification, professional competence, and integrity. Your induction today is both a recognition of achievement and a call to hold the highest standard of professional conduct as it concerns our geography, profession of geography, and as it concerns all you are doing wherever you are pursuing your career. I wish to sincerely thank the Governing Council, the Director General, members of the Planning Committee, our speakers, and all partners who have worked tirelessly to make this event a success, especially within a virtual format. As we proceed with today's program, I want to encourage all participants to engage actively, ask questions, share insights, and make the most of this unique professional gathering. I also want to request that every participant that is joining us should rename their screen name to their actual names so that we could have a good photograph, a good identification of all the participants. We wouldn't want screen names like Hot Infinix, maybe the name of your phone and so on. So please help us to do that because it's going to be, it's part of the protocol that is required for this conference. Once again, you are most welcome, and I wish us all a productive, enlightening, and a memorable conference. Thank you very much, and stay on for the next. We want to invite the lead keynote speaker for today, Professor Precious Ede, who is also the chair of the Distinguished Lecture Series. The Distinguished Lecture Series is a program of the Institute of Certified Geographers where professional geographers and especially our fellow awardees come up with a professional lecture that impacts and helps to, transform the society. He is also the pioneer, the pioneer and former head of Department of Geography and Environment, Rivers State University. And he is currently the academic planning, the director academic planning, unit of the Rivers State University. He's a professional geographer. He's a climatologist. In fact, he is on when it comes to professional geography and what it means to be a professional geographer. You can get it from him. So we want to welcome our distinguished lead keynote speaker, Professor Precious Ede, to give us the lead keynote presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Victor Sunday. It is my pleasure to be here. Let me begin by recognizing all the dignitaries in the House, especially the DG, Professor Christopher Balogun, and of course you, Dr. Victor Sunday, the National Coordinator and Moderator of this conference. I also want to recognize all the distinguished scholars that are here, esteemed policymakers, dedicated students, and friends. It is a profound honor to address this assembly on a topic of urgent and strategic importance. When I was given this topic to speak on, repositioning geography for professional development, regional integration, and societal transformation, I remembered in 2008 in Dalian, China, where I made a presentation on regional development for the International Society of Urban and Regional Planning, of which I'm a member in The Hague, but the conference held in Dalian, China. And during that conference, I had the privilege of listening to somebody from Scotland who presented a paper almost exactly on this topic. Please pardon me a little. Somebody just came into my compound and my dogs are excited about the person's presence. Unfortunately, I cannot abandon what I'm doing now to stop them. So what I'm saying is that the man was telling us how regional integration in West Africa could lead to the overall development of Africa as a region. And when I was given this topic, I had to explore further the things I recall the man brought up. So for too long, the discipline of geography have been marginalized in our educational systems and planning circles, often relegated to a secondary status, viewed merely as the memorization of rivers, mountains, and capital cities. This perception is not just outdated. This perception is not just outdated, it is fundamentally costly. It blinds us to the critical role that spatial intelligence play in solving complex, interconnected challenges facing the 15 nations of ECOWAS. We stand at a crossroad. We stand at a crossroad and at a critical junction. West Africa is defined by immense dynamism and rapid urbanization, a burgeoning youth population, significant resource wealth, and a deep-seated entrepreneurial spirit. Yet, this dynamism is constrained by persistent hurdles, infrastructure deficit, the intensifying pressures of climate change, from coastal erosion to desertification, and the imperative to achieve deeper economic and political integration. These are not merely economic or political problems. They are at the core spatial problem. Repositioning geography means moving it from the periphery of academia to the very center of policy and professional practice. It means recognizing that modern geography is the interdisciplinary science that provides the language and the tools, the geographic information system, remote sensing, spatial statistics, and locational analysis to understand the where, the why, and the how of our development challenges. We must embrace this spatial imperative to see West Africa not as a collection of separate states, but as a single complex and integrated human environmental system. The professional development, cultivating spatial intelligence. The first non-negotiable step on this pathway is to revolutionize professional geography. The moderator introduced me as a professional geographer. I have no problem counting myself as a professional geographer because I keep thanking God for making me a geographer. And those who know me personally will attest to that. Our universities and technical schools must graduate professionals who possess robust spatial literacy. The 21st century economy is a data economy, and the fastest growing sector of that data economy is spatial. Every government agency, every major corporation, and every international development partner needs experts who can turn raw locational data into actionable intelligence. For urban planning, for instance, we need geographers to move beyond drawing static master plans to building dynamic GIS models that predict the impact of population growth and climate shocks on infrastructure and service delivery. For public health, for instance, we need spatial analysis to map disease outbreak, model the accessibility of clinic, and optimize cold chain for vaccine distribution. For agriculture, for agriculture and food security, we need remote sensing specialists to monitor land use, land use change, predict yield variation, and identify areas most vulnerable to drought, thereby ensuring targeted intervention. This is not a vocational shift. It is a fundamental professional upgrade. By making GIS and spatial analysis mandatory across disciplines, from civil engineering to business administration, we equip our youth with skills that are immediately transferable, globally competitive, and essential for evidence-based governance. Repositioning geography means creating high-level jobs and stemming the tide of brain drain by providing the intellectual infrastructure for our own development. The regional integration and spatial glue. The ambition of ECOWAS to create a unified, prosperous region is a grand vision, but its successful execution depends entirely on geography. Regional integration is the act of spatially harmonizing disparate national systems. Think of the following challenges: infrastructure connectivity. How do we rationally plan the Trans-West African Coastline Highway and the Lagos-Abidjan corridor to maximize economic impact and minimize environmental disruption? Geography provides the optimal path analysis. Resource management. How do we equitably manage shared resources like the Volta Basin, the Niger Basin, and the Lake Chad Basin? Geographic tools offer the only neutral scientific framework for modeling shared impact and negotiating cooperative agreements. Cross-border trade. What are the most efficient border logistics and customs processing locations? Spatial modeling identifies bottlenecks and streamlines trade corridors. The lack of spatial data, harmonization, and shared geographical framework is often the unseen barrier to deeper regional integration. When every country uses a different mapping standard or different method of classifying land use, cooperations become inherently difficult. Mapping standards, it becomes difficult. Repositioning geography means establishing a common spatial data infrastructure across West Africa, a spatial glue that literally binds the region together, making policy coordination and infrastructure investment seamless and effective. Unfortunately, the goal of development is societal transformation, creating resilience, equitable, and sustainable communities. Geography provides the most holistic lens for achieving this. It is the geographer who understands that Vulnerability to flooding is not just about rainfall. Hello? Are you addressing me, Doc? Identifying communities vulnerable to sea level rise or those most susceptible to desert encroachment, allowing for context-specific adaptation and early warning system. Equity and inclusivity. The spatial lens is a powerful tool for revealing equity by mapping the proximity of schools to marginalized communities or the distance to clean water sources. We can visualize disparities that aggregate data often masked. This is crucial for ensuring that our transformation is truly inclusive, addressing the root causes of socioeconomic polarization. A call to action. The time for intellectual complacency is over. Repositioning geography is not an academic luxury. It is a strategic imperative for West Africa's future. I call upon educational leaders to aggressively integrate mandatory spatial and GIS training across all professional disciplines. Governments to establish national spatial data infrastructure and to staff their planning, environment, and emergency management agencies with trained geographers and spatial analysts. ECOWAS to mandate the harmonization of spatial data and geographical standards as a cornerstone of its integration agenda. West Africa has the talent, the drive, and the resources. By choosing to think spatially, by making geography the core and ethical tool of our professional development, regional integration, and societal transformation, we will not just manage our future, we will strategically engineer its success. Thank you so much for your rapt attention. I am very happy for this opportunity, as I have said before.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for this amazing keynote presentation. Before we continue with other keynote speakers, let's just take a group photograph because the DG and the lead keynote speaker may not stay long to the end of this program. So we are going to unmute our videos and then we take our group photograph. This is a virtual conference, an induction ceremony. You know, at every moment that it's necessary, there's always need to take a group photograph. So make sure you are captured, especially our inductees. This is a group photograph that shows that you were actually inducted. So unmute your video and let's have a group photograph. Yeah, unmute your video, everyone, and here we go. Here we go. Here we go. If you check the post that we'll be using for this campaign, we stated that it is one profession, one planet Earth, and one future. So can we just shout ICGN? If I say ICGN, you say one profession, one planet Earth, one future. ICGN.
One profession, one planet.
One planet. Okay.
Oh, beautiful. That's great. I've taken the photograph. I've taken the photograph. Yes. I take another one. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Prof, for the amazing lead keynote presentation. So we'll be moving to the next one. To be taken by Professor Joel Umeoduchi. Just a minute.
Babe, Allah zo ki naɗa wannan net ɗin, ko kin fara wankin? Okay, ci gaba.
So we'll be taking off with the next keynote speaker, and that's Professor Joel Umelduji. And we want to take his citation coming. Okay, so I'm taking his citation. Professor Joel Umelduji is a professor of fluvial geomorphology at the Department of Geography and Environmental Management, University of Port Harcourt. He had his kindergarten, primary, and secondary education program in Anambra State. He later proceeded to University of Calabar for a BSc program in Geography and Regional Planning. After his NYSC, he went to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka for his MSc in Geomorphology and a PhD in Fluvial Geomorphology. He won the highly competitive Dakar-based Council for the Development of Social and Economic Research in Africa, CODESRA, small grants for master's and doctoral works. He also won Netherlands Fellowship Program, fully funded postdoctoral short course on watershed and river basin management at the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization Institute for Water Education, UNESCO IHE DEFT. He joined the services of the University of Port Harcourt as an assistant lecturer, moving through the ranks, later became a senior lecturer, and on two separate occasions, headed the Department of Geography and Environmental Management. He was promoted to the readership rank and later became a professor of fluvial geomorphology. From the inception of his academic career, he had taught his undergraduate and postgraduate courses with utmost dedication. He has supervised several BSc and MSc and PhD theses. In terms of publication, he has co-authored one book, written 4 books, and published several journal papers together with several workshop and conference proceedings. He had a conference proceeding. During his second headship outing, he was able to bring his colleagues together to package a program that secured a full accreditation for the very first time since the inception of his department. He once served as the Associate Dean of the Faculty of Social Science and also the Senate Committee for Academic Policies and Program, as well as in the committee that drafted the General Regulation and Statement of Academic Policies for University of Port Harcourt on behalf of the Senate. His teaching activities took him to Abia State University, Uturu, where he was on sabbatical leave, and again to Osun State University, Osogbo, for the same purpose, where he also briefly served as the director for Center for Climate Change. He was the National Assistant Secretary for Environment and Behavior Association of Nigeria and is currently a member of the Association of Nigerian Geographers, the umbrella body of academic professional geographers in Nigeria. He served as the Professional Ethics Committee, a body that promotes good ethical conduct by staff on behalf of Senate of the University of Port Harcourt. He was an external examiner to Imo State University, Owerri, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and Ignatius Ajuru, University of Education, Port Harcourt. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you this simple, down-to-earth, and erudite fluvial geomorphologist, Professor Joel Ekutos Omoduji, to present a keynote paper titled Fluvial Landscape, Watershed Governance, and the Future of Geography in West Africa. You are welcome, sir. You can take over.
It should. The presenter should unmute his mic. Should unmute so that we follow. Okay. Are you hearing me? All right. You are hearing me? Yes.
I'm hearing.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to make a presentation. I see it as a privilege to make this presentation, not just a privilege, but also a challenge. Because when I got this, I had to take some time to put certain things, and that's why I'm here today. I want to thank ICGN I want to extend thanks to the leading speaker, which was really our friend. And then my colleague, fellow speakers, as well as the national coordinator and moderator. I want to thank you once more for the privilege and experience. You have challenged me to talk on fluvial landscapes, watershed governance, and the future of geography in West Africa. This is an area we have traversed for some decades. As a fluvial geomorphologist, fluvial geomorphology is just a line of studying landscapes, landforms, and you know we live in the land. If the land is modified, that tells you the importance of looking at things. We have a presentation now, and I believe we are looking at it. In fact, I have a footage now. I believe this is just a presentation. Taken from the paper is I have an abstract introduction. Then we'll look at fluvial landscapes. Look at the Then we also look at the features of geography in West Africa. Any implications. Then this is the abstract. This sums up what we have in this. Rivers play a major role in defining landforms. And in West Africa, there are similar rivers. So, think of rivers, what they are doing, the sensitive nature of our ignoring what we have to. Yeah. That aspect of morphology that captures what we experience. Rivers do exist. We know environments differ. There are areas here, oceans play a lot of role near the beach. There are areas in the desert region here, there's a lot of role. There are areas in the very cold beaches where the where you have rivers. So rivers play like Costa. Rivers play quite a great deal. In West Africa, you have striking diversity because of the regional distance. There are regions near the coast where they have several plains, perennial rivers. Then, as you move towards the hinterland, you have areas where you have slaves that are not present throughout the year. In other words, during certain seasons, during the rainy season, you have streams flowing. During the very dry period, you have the rivers disappear and the streams disappear. So, West Africa gives one a striking diversity of these their systems. And then there are major rivers, the Niger, Seneca, Buta, Gambia, and several other rivers. Right. And then you look at the fluvial landscapes. These rivers are doing a lot of, they are doing eroding material from the continent and moving some material towards the coast and into the ocean. In that process, they modify valley channels, modify adjoining landscapes, create a lot of forms near the streams because of the hydraulics. Sediments are etched out, transported, moved, they are deposited. So you have erosion, you have transportation, you have sedimentation. And over time, these channels keep on adjusting. They keep on adjusting. And then you look at the additional features where this material came, especially towards the ocean. This is the Niger Delta. This Niger Delta is very, very important, just like any other entry point of the rivers into the ocean. These entry points are not just an outlet for the rivers to move in water, to move in fluvial materials, or sediments. They are also inlets of the ocean water into the land anytime there is maybe a rise in sea level. You need to understand these dynamics in order to enjoy the benefits of the land where we are living. Because if we are not the truth and we are not cognizant of this fact, the rivers are not just outlet, but also inlet, then we be more careful in what we're doing. Because during extreme events, if we have very exceptional rainfall and the sea level happens to rise, the material from the ocean, in fact, water from the ocean will see these river mouths as inlets into the continent. It is very important to understand this. Then we have several rivers water, as I mentioned, towards the southern part, that's towards the coast, Nigeria, Volta, Senegal. Then there are seasonal ones, familiar streams, the North Saharan, the Western. And then watershed governance. It is important to stress that many of the rivers in Africa are transbound. In other words, they move from one nation to another. For instance, with the Nile, it's crossing several countries before entering into their home. And then Senegal, Volta, Mano, and those other rivers, they are in other words, we not actually governance is very very. Because any action we take at the upstream side can affect the livelihood in the downstream side. That is why actually governance is very. It is important for us to cooperate. We need to cooperate. Historically, in those days, different nation states, different people, they used to know how to manage them. But now the world is getting much closer and closer together. There is need for regional integration. West Africa is a big thing. And then our rivers cross the conflicts from different countries. So different countries that are connected to cooperate together. Because any action we take upstream can affect things health. So we have Niger Basin Authority, Senegal Basin Authority, and then also that of these river basin authorities lead the country. Then there are challenges facing water quality. The first one is climate change. Mentioned the area one of the rivers, especially their outlet are equally inlet. So as the climate, as we are facing the era of climate change, as we are facing the era of global warming, as we know that it is inevitable for sea level to rise, a time when sea level rises, these river mouths will become inlets of the ocean into them. We need to know this is a major thing facing us. Can we, West Africans, what would the finance require? I remember for that of Netherlands, we know it's a much of Netherlands is below sea level. But they have been able, due to technology and finance, they are able to keep the North Sea off their life. They are living comfortable because of activity. But we in Africa and West Africa in particular, when the sea level rises, and we will be in a position to technologically handle this. That's a question facing us. Agriculture is really land degradation, deforestation. These are things we are doing that are changing the watershed. And there are good policies. Good policies. Structural fragmentation, lack of cooperation. All these communities, how can we have traditional knowledge to make sure we cope with the situation if the sea level rises? Then the issue of boundary water governance, cooperation amongst different nations, different countries. Because I mentioned climate change there, and then organization of the population. All these are challenges facing and then one other thing which I mentioned earlier is organization has a very significant role to play in that it changes the hydrology of the river system. See the hydrographs here. You can see there. You can see that organization shortens the react time. the lifetime. It shortens the lifetime. And the urbanization increases the total volume that ends in the river. Because what urbanization does is to create more concretized surfaces so that water that would have infiltrated into the ground is now channeled at runoff to go and increase the volume of rivers. That's why it increases the volume. You can see the graph. The peak after urbanization is higher. And then the lifetime. The lifetime is defined as the time with which the peak of hydrograph lags behind the peak of. You see the graph, the bar graph, that is the rainfall graph that generated the line graph, which is the bar, which is the you see the peaks. And then you also see the peak. The first one when it was still
the first hydrograph urbanization. The first hydrograph is lower, the peak is lower. And then the time lag is longer. But after urbanization, the peak is higher and the time lag is shorter. That tells you a lot about what goes on in the river. As we are urbanizing, we are complicating what is going on in the river. We are making the river more vulnerable to us. It can cause flooding to us. It can carry more materials. That's why we need to take note of this. And then there are certain things we need to do in terms of effective governance. We need to improve hydrological monitoring and data systems. Luckily now, our data generating systems are getting more improved. We can use drone to get more data. We can use GIS and similar tools to do much work. So this is an area that is very, very important. And then early warning mechanisms for floods and drainage control. This is very, very important. And then climate resilient infrastructure. As we are building our structures, we should think of the effect of climate change. If we are in areas where we expect flash flood, we should build structures that can resist such flash floods. If we are in areas liable to flooding, we should also build structures that are equally resilient. And then land use planning, we need to control. If we don't control what goes on within the river basin, we are putting ourselves at risk. We need to strengthen local adaptive capacity, and then cross-border cooperation. This is also very important. And then the pathways for improving governance. We need to strengthen institutions and policies. Where those institutions don't exist, we need to strengthen them. We must cooperate with one another. For instance, if a country is rich and builds a dam upstream, and there's another country that has a dam downstream, that downstream dam can be rendered redundant. So we need to cooperate. There is need for cooperation. And then we need to promote data-driven decision making. Let's not just take decisions because we can or because we have the political power, but data should drive our decision, and we have to cooperate. And we have to know that we have one common enemy, climate change. And then the next section of this is talking about the need for us to understand rapid evolution. Rapid evolution. The river system is rapidly going through an evolution, particularly due to urbanization. Of course, climate change is also there. And then we are degrading a lot. But we also need to take note of the fact that there's a major challenge, especially in the Sahelian region. As the climate is getting drier, populations are forced to move. And when populations move, such migrating population will meet a different population. There will always be conflict. No wonder there is a lot of conflict coming from the Sahel region. Migration. Those people need to feed their animals. And if their place is getting drier, nature will force them to move. So technologically, we have to think of ways of making water available. And these rivers we have that are pushing the water into the Atlantic, it appears the water is wasting. So what we will do is design measures, trap the water, make the water available for them there. They will use the water. They will not migrate again to cause problem in other areas. And then the issues also continue there. Intensify climate impact will refocus our priorities. Urbanization, we mentioned that earlier on. Then plus other things. Then there are scenarios. There's a scenario if we just keep quiet and leave things to develop on their own. There's also a scenario of knowing that we can intervene. If we intervene with data, with correct information, we can control our fluvial system and we will get the best from it. But if we don't do anything, we are at the risk of nature. Nature will always take its course. If we don't do anything to provide water, everywhere will be dry. People will move, cause problem. If we don't do anything to control the water where it is excess, especially areas liable to flood, if we don't, the water will also enter the area we live, and there is need for intervention. We need to increase knowledge, education, capacity development. Let people know about this. Design programs, reposition geography, just as this conference is all about. Use modern tools, GIS, programming, and make use of the development, the current development in computer science. If we make use of such tools, then we get more accurate data that will help us. We can decentralize our training hubs, improve our research capacities, maybe attract grants and things like that, and then do more interdisciplinary work, involve others, use open data, and then engage the community, engage people, use some kind of ethical standards to involve people, and it will all be participatory so that we can make the best use of our river systems. In conclusion, I want to mention that if we ignore what goes on the river, if we ignore the fact that the river has the capacity to transform the landscape, if we ignore it and just leave the river to do its work, we are putting ourselves at risk. So we need to do some investment in regional geospatial capacity. We need to share data with different countries, exchange notes, cooperate, and then support translational research. Then prioritize our coastal and Sahelian monitoring. As I mentioned earlier on, if climate change, if a global temperature rise continues, it means sea level will rise. So the coastal regions are at risk. And then if climate change continues at the rate it is going, Saharan region is also at risk. So we need to design policies to address these regions. Funding is also important. We need to integrate geographic approach. A good example is what happened somewhere in Abwere and Odoni in River State. A program was organized to do some form of protection, riverside protection. They want to protect side of the non-river because these two settlements are on the same side of the non-river. So they organized a program for Abaru protection. And then they did not take cognizance of the fact that Odoni was downstream. And Odoni people protested. And they were in order. Because if that program had been done to protect the banks of the river for Aberu, it would have transferred the problem to Odoni people. So there is need for integration, upstream, downstream. And then it is important to note that the future of geography in West Africa is very bright and promising. Very bright and promising. Because if you look at the diversity involved, there are rivers that are perennial, there are rivers that are quite seasonal. These are challenging. So we geographers should look at all these things very well, do proper intervention so that both those in the Sahelian region and those in the wetter coastal region can live and enjoy the benefits of the landscape. Finally, it is important to know that geography is that bridge that links data, people, and activities in such a way that we can have a spatially integrated and interconnected and more resilient West Africa. This is very, very important. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Joel Ekitos Moduji, for that presentation. It's quite direct to the theme of this conference, and I'm sure all our participants would have jotted down some things and quite curious with questions to throw. But before we come to the question interactive section, we'll take the last presentation by Professor Joseph C. Udo, and then we go to the interactive section, questions and answer. Yeah. So, Prof, are you in? Are you ready? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Prof. Prof, can you stop sharing your screen so that he can? Yeah, just click stop share.
Wrong one, come on. It says stop sharing screen. How do we? It says stop sharing screen. There. Okay. not hearing you. Dr. Victor, I'm not hearing you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Professor Joa Umudeji, for that presentation. We are moving over to the third and the last keynote speaker for today, and that's Professor Joseph C. Udo. You're welcome, sir. So can you take over?
Okay. Hello? Am I sharing from here? Are you sharing my screen from there?
Yes, share from where you are.
Okay. Right. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank Professor Joel. Very insightful presentation. And of course, before then, Professor Ide. I've greatly benefited. I've jotted a lot of notes. I know after now, I will have a lot to interact with Professor Joel later on. Fellows and inductees, members, I want to thank you for the opportunity you've given me to talk on disaster risk modeling, vulnerability mapping, and the role of geography in building a resilient West Africa. We've already, from what we've learned so far, issues of vulnerability and related issues on risk is become everyday thing. It's even in the public news, as we'll see later. We'll talk about disaster risk management and modeling. And we ask the vital question, how natural are actually natural disasters? And then we'll look at vulnerability mapping and GIS, vulnerability meaning and various approaches. Then we look at the case of our region, West Africa, and we'll try and compare it with what is happening elsewhere. Then the issue of geography, what has it got to do with this, all these alls? Then we'll present our recommendations and conclusion. Now, few years back, COVID and post-COVID challenges, issues like this, it was more or less everyday news. This one was Voice of Nigeria. Say Nigeria expands social safety net, additional 15 million households. And the story starts by saying President Tinubu has announced that the federal government has expanded cash transfer program to include additional 50 million vulnerable households. So this section, we introduce our discourse by saying the issue of vulnerability, as we have seen so far, vulnerable households, disaster risk management, disaster risk modeling, basically front page news that we just seen, cash transfer of so much to so number of households. But the question you and I know I asked myself, and of course, each and every one of us would have asked, who are these households? Who are actually? What is their age? What is their sex? Where do they live? What actually makes them vulnerable? Vulnerable to what? By the time we're able to ask those kind of questions, you discover that we are setting the foundation to what we are going to discuss today. Disaster risk management and modeling. By disaster risk management, we are talking of those policies and strategies that we put in place to prevent new disaster risk, to reduce existing disaster risk and manage residual risk. Those risks are already taking place. How do we manage them? And they, at the end of the day, contribute to strengthening resilience and reduction of disaster losses. Disaster risk modeling, in the other one, has to do with use of data, quantification, and scientific methods to simulate potential losses and damages for natural and man-made hazards. It combines hazard, vulnerability, exposure data to estimate how they might affect specific population and location. So by modeling, we are actually talking of application of modern techniques to visualize spatial data, as Professor Joel already talked about them. By the time you can project, can simulate, can make some projections, and at the end of the day, we use this for societal development. If you are using those techniques, then we're now talking of modeling. We are modeling them. Okay, the vital issue that will give the direction to what we're going to discuss is the issue of how natural are natural disasters. Okay, UNDRR says a serious disruption of functioning of a community or society of any scale due to hazardous events interacting with conditions of exposure, vulnerability, and all that, leading to one or more of the following: human, material, economic, environmental losses, and impacts. That looks a little bit embracing, but disasters generally, as if we want to summarize it, are those activities that those events that bring disastrous some level of consequences in the society, to individuals and environment, to an extent the community are not able to cope with it. If the community can cope, that is not disaster. For it to be a disaster, there has to be loss of lives, there has to be total disruption of the food chain, communication, and all that, even people being lives being destroyed. If nobody had died, nothing Okay, minimize. All right. Hello, are you with me?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you for coming back again.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. For there to be the total life wire of the community. Okay. And Noel Smith says that there's no such thing as natural disasters. That, of course, that someone also said that the disaster is nothing natural about disaster. Disaster as a serious, as a social, not just natural construct. Okay? That disaster is actually a social construct, not a natural construct. And determining factors of whether a hazard event is catastrophic or not is vulnerability of the people or places. So that's why I want to approach this topic from the framework of the fact that modern researches in disaster management, natural disaster management, revolves around vulnerability mapping. Because whether an event is actually disastrous would depend on the people, on the place and the people. The research has actually shown that individuals of high socioeconomic status have a higher coping capacity, ability to withstand and overcome whatever disastrous events in the community, rather than people of lower socioeconomic status. And of course, some locations, some places are more vulnerable to others. Of course, Professor Juala already told us, a few years back, all the overflooding of River Benue and all that. I mean, when people build their houses in floodplains, it's only a matter of time. Then we have, when flood come, they will sweep them off. So over the years, the issue of natural disaster management and modeling has actually zeroed in the vulnerability of both the place, vulnerability of the people involved in the equation of it. And of course, most researchers in recent years has actually zeroed in on the area of vulnerability of both the people and the places. So what are vulnerability mapping, therefore? This is a tool that we use to minimize the negative consequences of hazards and disasters. Vulnerability mapping is useful in all phases of disaster management: prevention, mitigation, preparedness, operations, relief, recovery, and all that. It allows for improved communication about hazards, about risk, about what is being threatened in the locality. Such maps can be compiled into electronic and hard copy atlases. And of course, vulnerability mapping makes use a lot of capabilities of the computers, GIS, and related softwares to model. And of course, vulnerability is a geographic problem. In other words, we are already talking of vulnerability of either an individual, of a place. And such people don't live in a vacuum. Vulnerability don't exist in a vacuum. They are tied to specific locations. They're tied to individuals and their characteristics. And of course, if they have such a characteristics, then the vulnerability mapping actually benefits a lot from GIS, advances in GIS modeling and geospatial data analysis. And of course, if it's GIS, then it answers the question: what is identification, location, trends, optimal paths, and patterns and models. And GIS have been widely applied in vulnerability mapping. It allows for integration of spatial data from various sources. GIS has a strong analysis and modeling capabilities. And of course, in the GIS environment, it allows ease of data editing and data entry, editing, integration analysis, storage, and of course, visualization of such spatial data. It presents them in various format, 3D and all kinds of format of visualization. So therefore, it's very easy to communicate. So people that are concerned to so the resultant product that is doing that if from their GIS analysis of vulnerability analysis, it helps one identify and locate sensitive population so that emergency managers could customize relief efforts based on needs determined by the defined vulnerability. We already seen from the picture, we already seen newspaper report, we already seen by the time you say 15 million households. Was it done out, of course, government's good intention, but from a geographic and GIS background, my mind was that how were those 15 million people identified? Was it based out of objective consideration? And of course, how were they identified? Where do they live? Those questions we asked earlier came into play, and those kind of questions that GIS modeling of vulnerability actually comes in. So what do you mean by vulnerability in the first place? The definition of COBOM that you have there, the measure of how the elements of risk in a landscape will be damaged if they were exposed to the same level of hazards. How the elements at risk in the landscape will be damaged if they were exposed to the same level of hazards. Of course, given the same level of hazards, two environments, two sets of individuals and environment that are not affected equally. Years back, there was an earthquake in Haiti, high population, high poverty level, and of course, it now came with so much disaster, so much loss of lives and property were lost. But supposing that same magnitude of earthquake takes place in an isolated island somewhere, where no people living there and where no sensitive ecosystem, I mean, those things can barely make news. So two environments being exposed to the same level of hazardous situation, they will not affected equally. That's what vulnerability is all about. In here we measure how the elements at risk in the landscape will be damaged if they were exposed. It's usually seen as being prone or susceptible to damage or injury. Okay, so that is all about it. Now, over the years, there's recent researches are tending towards what is called social dimension of vulnerability. In other words, not just general exposure of the environment, but the social aspect of it. In other words, emphasis in recent researches has tailored towards the not just technology and technological consideration, environmental, economics, and technological consideration, but the social dimensions of it have been ignored until recently. Implication is that over the years, policymakers not fully address the negative consequences, nor take full advantage of potential opportunity to reach a number of sustainable development goals. So the social dimension of vulnerability, according to Meehan and Norton, to those aspects of vulnerability that reflect the social, economic, and behavioral components of the human condition as critical aspect of hazards and disaster policies. Okay, so in the past few years, past few decades, the emphasis in looking at disaster management, disaster risk reduction and modeling as tending towards looking at the human being, the social condition of the people involved. And of course, disaster may likely place human beings and the environment at risk and impede sustainable development. Okay, now let's to the next approaches. Now, we want to look at the various approaches of vulnerability mapping. As I've said, when you are looking, we want to concentrate on vulnerability vulnerability mapping aspect of this paper because it's the vulnerability that actually affects disaster risk reduction. If you're able to address the issues of vulnerability, then you must have the issue of sustainable development and the resilience of the community will actually be. IPCC, International Governmental Panel on Climate Change, brought out in 2001, they define vulnerability as the degree to which a system is susceptible or unable to cope with the adverse effects of climate change. Of course, from the standpoint of climate change, they brought that look at vulnerability as the ability of a particular system to cope the effects of climate change. Okay, he looked at vulnerability as a function of the character and magnitude and rate of climate variation to which a system is exposed, its sensitivity and adaptive capacity. This formula came up, vulnerability as a function of exposure, as a function of sensitivity, a function of adaptive capacity. Exposure here being the nature and degree to which a system is exposed to significant climate variation. Of course, generally, when that applied to different aspects of hazards and disasters, then we're talking of not only in terms of climate change, everything that can affect an environment. Is it in terms of exposure here, exposure to all manner of hazards? Is it exposure to earthquake, exposure to flooding? What kind of hazard is an environment exposed to? This part of the equation will address to that. Later on, we see how this is applied and look at some typical example. Then sensitivity, the degree to which a system is affected. Is it in terms of the population, in terms of how sensitive the environment is, and even the vegetation, NDVI index and vegetation and then the adaptive capacity. Okay.
Can you share your screen?
Are you not showing the screen not shown?
No, it's not shown.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, I have a standby technical support. I will look at that. Okay. Just give me a minute, please. I'm sorry about that. Okay. 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 Are you there? Okay. Is it okay
Yes,
now?
welcome. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
sorry. Okay. Of course, this, I believe later on this will be made available to for every one of us. So now we are looking at the issue is that because of the central issue, the central role of vulnerability in the disaster risk equation, in the past few years, there is in issue of vulnerability have taken center place. And one of those approach to vulnerability mapping and vulnerability issues is the IPCC has come in with this equation that shows that that vulnerability is a function of exposure, sensitivity, adaptive capacity. Adaptive capacity aspect of it will take care of the social vulnerability, the people's level of education, the socioeconomic level and all that, poverty and all that. Sensitivity will take care of things that how sensitive the environment is. Vegetal index can even use things like vegetal index, use things like population density and all that. Then exposure will take care of the danger, the hazard to which a society has been exposed to. So in terms of if it's a flooded environment, we're now talking of exposure. How exposed is that environment to all manner of hazards. So and of course, a lot of people have actually used this IPCC approach to try and map vulnerability in the environment. The first one you have here, which the only one we try to look at, is the Yusuf and Francisco, 2009. In Southeast Asia, they produced a vulnerability mapping of different countries in Southeast Asia. Now it's important that if you look at critically, you discover that there's a socioeconomics of the people were taken into consideration, technological, the level of technology, the infrastructure of that environment were given in, that will be the adaptive capacity. People stand, so this issue of having so many layers of information and modeling out of it, that way the capabilities of GIS comes in. Human Development Index, standard of living of people, level of longevity, life, education, poverty, and all that, income, all this one will now become the adaptive capacity, which you now have here. So modeling now therefore overall vulnerability of a people. This one was used in Southeast Asia. Therefore, overall region Southeast Asia, the adaptive capacity will all be all these data sets. And of course, the multiple, all this one has that, this level, this upper part will be now the exposure component of that equation. Then the population density and protected areas will now be the sensitivity. Remember, we said that vulnerability is now the function of the exposure, what kind of hazard that environment is exposed to, and then the sensitivity of that environment. Here, the model sensitivity in terms of population density and in terms of protective areas. Okay, then the adaptive capacity, all these parameters here were now, and of course, a particular level of weight were given, and at the end of the day, this is what came about. Then now became the vulnerability map of Southeast Asia. Vulnerability map of Southeast Asia. That a lot of course, from here, many others have globally have actually done try to use this equation to produce, so that you can now look at it can now paint a picture in terms of even before disaster takes place. Who are the people that are likely to be the target for intervention? And those are where you have now the rate, high level of vulnerability. The rate now to identify danger. So these are part and parcel of contingency planning. All these things are kept in place so that should in case any kind of things happen, so people living here and all that, and will now be the target for some level of intervention. With some of these things, and in our GIS laboratory in the University of Uyo, we've done a couple of things with some of our PG students and also in our lab, and we have some of those things, some of those works are quoted here. Now, another approach, apart from the IPCC approach, another approach of vulnerability mapping recent year, or what is called, what they call social vulnerability index. This approach was pioneered by this lady called Susan Kuter, a professor emeritus of geography in the University of South Carolina. After now you can Google her work. When it comes to, because they discovered that over the years, Katrina, some of those hurricanes in the southern USA, they discovered that some particular population tend to be negatively impacted by all manner of hurricanes that have taken place there, and because of that, they now modeled, using what they call now social vulnerability index to now model the areas that are likely to be target for intervention. And of course, it's all the counties, all the population, using so many. If you look at that, we'll talk about that later. Up to 250 socioeconomic variables from 17 parameters were used and throughout the country. And out of this, factor analysis were actually selected. We were able to select some of the factors that were very, very significant. At the end of the 11 factors were extracted. that accounted for 76% variation, and these were used to now compute socio vulnerability index, that's SOVI, socio vulnerability index, that was and various dimensions, and we have said so many parameters that were used, and of course you can later on you can good. This was the map that was produced, the whole of United States of America at the county level, at the very smallest level, and they now build it up to what you have. So they can now look at the whole country and say, look, in terms of any disaster happening, as we plan towards the resilient community, this is the target. This is the target communities that we have to look at. And of course, it makes planning easy. So instead of blanket, vulnerability, they can be able to pinpoint the vulnerability to locations in which they can now use it for various intervention policies. Also, I will also try to look at using those formulas to look at some situations in the country. But let's move forward. Now let's look at, for now, there's really not been a coordinated effort for the whole region. Unlike you see some of those places we've already seen, they have a coordinated effort to map vulnerability of the people. Even within the country, we've not really had a very large area in which we can pinpoint on area vulnerability of both the people and the places for emphasis, for intervention reason. We've not really had, of course, we have had some pockets of research here and there all over the country and outside, within the continent, some pockets of research, but we not really had a base, a wide range of over a wide region. We look at some of the challenges that arise in an effort to do that. There are many areas of Southeast Asia, many areas in US, in Australia. There have been other parts of the world, they have very large, in the regional basis, vulnerability maps have been produced that enables policymakers to take informed decision. Of course, we already heard that West Africa is a climate change hotspot, and climate-related natural hazard, flood, and all that. We already, Professor Joel already mentioned some part of it. And of course, we have, River Benue, River Niger. These are common occurrences and even in the Niger Delta. And of course, as you go toward the Sahel, some of these stuff are very, very common. And of course, if you look at the climate aspect, you look at climate component, we discover that, that the arid, we have West Africa, from the arid turning was to the moist sub. So we have wide variety of hazardous events that take place. Not to talk of now, by the time we now talk of industrial, Niger Delta and its pollution and all that. And of course, even in recent years, a lot of landslides, a lot of mining activities are activated, all kinds of activities that go on that can are likely to be modeled. So hazardscape, in hazard landscape, a common technical word for use these days, hazardscape. Climate-related flooding, biological epidemic diseases. Of course, we are living witnesses of all the COVID things that happen. Geological, Nigeria, West Africa is not really so much an earthquake zone, but once in a while we hit of tremors, which another, but it's not. But then it's still, then industrial oil spills and all that, and of course not to talk of the wars and conflicts. So there's all kinds of things that go on that will need for vulnerability mapping. Okay, all these things we have mentioned, therefore, there's so much need for vulnerability mapping in West Africa. And of course, most of we said earlier, some of the intervention measures are very much haphazard. They're still related to, remember all these cases, hoodlums attacking warehouses and palliatives and all kinds of issues of palliatives have become a lexicon in the country, and people are talking about all the things, warehouses looted and all that. So these are needs, and of course, as a country in the days to come, there's so much need for informed policies that are based on objective consideration, based on actually data-driven. Professor Joel mentioned that earlier on, data-driven, and the previous people that have spoken. Their society needs to be data-driven. If you are mapping, that's where maps comes in. That's where you see, when we saw earlier, Southeast Asia, large database, in US, large database, so much, variables that are taken into consideration to actually bring in back up, so that by the time maps are produced, one will not even dare to argue, because it's based out of objective concentration. So what are the challenges of vulnerability mapping in West Africa? Vulnerability mapping thrives where database and essential data sets are available and accessible. Where we have database and essential data sets are available and accessible. The databases are there. You can actually go, some of these things, the public domain. Some of the ones we see, some of these countries, public domain. I wonder if one goes to a population commission here or Bureau of Statistics, whether you can have all the exhaustible database of all manner of essential data sets that we can actually use. If those ones are there, what about available and accessibility of critical social, socioeconomic, demographic data sets, critical socioeconomic data sets? Recently, the issue of poverty and the issue of unemployment, it seems as if it's a little bit sensitive in terms of policymakers. It seems to me so. Years back, UNDP, a lot of data churned out in the various regions, Niger Delta, and one could assess them. But in the last few years, I wonder whether those kind of data, I make a lot of those data sets, and it seems to me it's not very easy these days to come near them. Of course, even look at our population, the last population census, even things like religion, even things like tribe. If you look at some of those data sets that were used outside, that we some of these people, they are very critical in disaster management. Vulnerability, how vulnerable people, and be your man living somewhere in outside his domain is likely to be vulnerable. The safety nets are not there. A Hausa man living somewhere in my neighborhood here in Uyo is in terms of disaster management, he becomes highly vulnerable. So it now becomes very necessary for her to have all these critical, what we are Nigeria, for example, tend to see so much demographics as critical. They say, it's highly contagious. In terms of, somebody, even things like people's religion, the church you attend, they become very, very essential things, because there are certain religious things that are taboos and all that are placed into when you are now considering how vulnerable some of these issues we are talking about. So there's a general challenge of population census, political versus essential input for development. I believe going forward, they'll begin to see socioeconomic data as essential input for development, not just for politics, not just for quarreling among themselves and all that. And related to this also, the challenge of vulnerability, another challenge is the minimum mapping unit. Mapping unit. See, like what we have in USA, they take it as the county, for example, and they use that, they have data, exhausted categories of data. Now for Nigeria, we have local government, most of our data, even population, stops and the local government. We may not have ward level. Do we even have ward level map, for example? Ward level boundaries for us to enable us. This from, and so we have wards. Supposing is it possible to even have ward level maps? Can we have data that are even local level, village level? All these ones are becoming very, very necessary in terms of taking decisions on showing where vulnerable people are. Where Only you have state level. Some of these figures lump state. Some of these figures lump local government. It does not really allow for some level of modeling that are critical to decision making. Okay, now we already know that when we're not talking of component of GIS, hardware, software, I believe for us in Nigeria, the issue for now, not the issue of hardware, issue for now, not the issue of software, issue for even the issue of personnel. With all the development that have been going on, not many universities now have GIS and all that. A lot of personnel are out there. For many people have been trained in our university. A lot of people are trained. We are churning out people from a master's, from even undergraduate. An average student in my department, before he finishes in the undergraduate program, he can handle one any or some of these softwares and can actually do something out of it. But so the question is not actually number 1, 2, 3. The question is number 4 in terms of the data we are actually talking about. Data at the right, database that can easily get it from. And of course, the placement of GIS in an organization procedure. Do we only have GIS? Some states have their GIS, and are they actually used? When do we bring in GIS? Is after we have said, let's locate so thing here, let's do so thing. Then we now work from the answer to a GIS. No, GIS has to be positioned in the organogram of any kind of in our public space, so that we can know that GIS because GIS basically is a decision support system. It supports decision. It can only aid policymakers to the extent to which they want to use GIS. So to me, therefore, the critical aspect is the issue of data, the issue of then the procedure, the placement. And of course, recent years, an increase of GIS usage, computer usage is increasing. Any young man is very conversant with all kinds of GIS, all kinds of computer programs and all that. A lot of GIS professionals have increased over the years. A lot of spatial literacy has actually increased. GIS, OBA, and all that, it has actually popularized GIS applications, even in commerce and all that. And of course, even interactive maps are becoming a little bit popular. Visualization of spatial data also becoming popular, which is actually a plus. And of course, voluntary mapping. Dr. Victor has been over the years issuing unique mappers and all volunteers all waiting out there. So we don't really lack the personnel. We don't really lack active youth that can actually do this thing. But the issue is that policies of government has to be in a way that will make some of these things useful. Okay, so what has geography got to do with it? As mentioned earlier, about 80% of data for planning and development are geographic or spatial components. So we have geographic data it's all over the place. I wonder these days, I mean, in the past few years, is any major project that does not really have a GIS component? And of course, so we need the special knowledge of geography have to be actually upgraded. Many professional bodies and courses incorporating geographic components, of course, increasing popularity of geographic technologies, remote sensing, GIS, GPS, and all that. They become part and parcel of everyday life. So it's actually, geography is playing more and more key roles. The downside of it, a lack of emphasis in geography education, has already been mentioned. Downside, years in the 70s, and you start learning geography from primary school, and every class in the secondary schools, I know that. So in fact, many universities are coming to a situation that there's even talks of allowing people that didn't do geography in the secondary school to read geography in the universities. Because if you want to wait strictly for people to have O-level in geography, you will not have people to train again. So there's actually a downside. And of course, organizations like what the coordinator is doing here, what certified geographers are actually doing here. Institute of Certified Geographers are doing the renaissance, a position of geography in not only the universities but also professional bodies. And many universities are contemplating and working on making geography not just department of geography, but a faculty of geography, so that they can explore and expand their base. All these ones are actually praise points upside that we need to believe God for a greater and better future for geography. So what is our recommendation? Dedicated data set for disaster risk management in West Africa. Let's work towards having very comprehensive data sets. Can we have, for example, poverty? Even if we have, and of course, the various, different administrations in the various West African countries are making it difficult. Can we actually have in our own equivalent of, of local government? Okay, can we have data sets that cuts across all the local government in every country in West Africa? Can we work towards harmonizing the minimum mapping units and the various data sets that can be used? So what I'm recommending is for data sets, dedicated data sets for disaster risk management in West Africa, which could easily be used for modeling. I'm also recommending a regional, sub-regional vulnerability atlas. Let's have vulnerability atlas. All these components we have looked at elsewhere, what they do at the end of the day, every of those components and data set, they will produce maps for it. Before now, combining every one of them to have the final vulnerability maps. So let's have vulnerability atlas. And some of those CVC, many parts of the world, they even have it online. You can go online, you can download the data, metadata and all that, and use it in your various things that you want to do. And of course, geography as a profession, there's need to prioritize geography education at various levels. Let's make more noise, and I quote, professional geographers, let more advocacy. Let's work towards some level of legislation that will back up the study of geography and geography and as a profession, and the kind of work Sir Victor and Professor Balogun and the team in the Institute of Geographers are actually doing. In conclusion, I want to thank you for your time and thanks for listening. And of course, and open my phone, my email that day, not after now. Let's communicate. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Joseph C. Odo, for that amazing presentation as one of the keynotes presentation for this Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria conference and induction ceremony. Thank you so much. We move ahead to the interactive section, question and answer, before we go over to the induction ceremony. So the floor is open. You can raise your digital hand if you have any question, if you have any comments. Please do well to raise your digital hand, and we'll be able to call you so you can make your contribution, ask questions, and so on. Yeah, Prof, you can stop sharing.
Okay.
Yes, any question, contribution, all our inductees? Can we hear you? add voice to the presentations. Let's know you are there. The essence of the presentation is to enhance professional knowledge as we position geography for professional development.
Dr. Victor, can we encourage participants to unmute? Maybe that will. Okay. Maybe participants should unmute so that they can.
Yeah, if you can't raise your digital hand, maybe you can go ahead to unmute and talk to us. All right, someone asked a question here. It says, what new skill do geographers need to acquire today to remain competent? What new skill does geographers need to acquire today to remain competent as professionals in the society? Yeah, so we have two of our keynote speakers here, and any of you can take up the question and give us address that. Or if you think you are there and you want to contribute to that question, provide an answer, please feel free to. This is an interactive section. Let's interact. We are looking for a way forward to reposition geography, not just in the country, but as a pathway to the future of West Africa. And the question here now is, what are the skills that we need to acquire as geographers in order to remain competent in the society, in order to remain professionally relevant in the society? So feel free. Now is the time for you to speak out so that we know the pathway to ensuring that geography as a discipline, as a profession, is sustained. Yeah, who is going on?
All right. Okay, Prof.
Who is taking it? Okay. Professor Joseph, you want to take it? Or Professor Luigi, who is taking? Or anyone? Go ahead, feel free. Let's all contribute.
Well, maybe well, there are a lot. I've seen some of my people here, Dr. Boriba, I've seen him somewhere there. And I know there are many there in the audience that can even answer this question. The issue is that what new skills? To me, it's more or less like what there are already opportunities on ground. Is each and every geographer to be relevant, to actually get a little bit, things are already on ground. And there's one of my students that did GIS in the masters and went outside the country, he did computer science, big data. And it's now all manner of geospatial visualization of all the big data and all that, and it's really, really involved. each at your own level, get involved in what is actually happening. Get involved. AI is a new thing. Machine learning. I was excited some few days back. One of my students presented a proposal. I was talking on machine learning and all kinds of things. I was so excited. I said, even using those terms alone is enough for me. Let's see our students. Let's see our people going into what is already happening. A lot of things are already happening. AI. I mean, I'm personally challenged. How is AI influencing GIS? We already know. So I believe for every one of us at your own level, get involved. Knowledge is never static. Things are always evolving from one level or the other. So it's not a one thing that can fit every one of us. But get involved in what is happening. Get involved in the data management, data visualization. There are even courses out there that are even free. Get yourself involved in whatever and make yourself useful to this society. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to add a little to what Professor said. The only thing that is constant in time is change. I remember it when there was quantitative revolution, disciplines that killed him benefited from that. And nowadays, which is this our current time, there's a kind of digital revolution. And any discipline that kills him will also benefit. For geography to be relevant at this particular time, we need to make use of current tools. If you look at this country now, it's difficult to go into the field to get real data because the field is very unsafe. And now the digital tool available, we can use drone, we can make use of data, satellite data and things like that to make our work more efficient. So for geography to be really relevant, we must do some form of retraining. Some of us were trained and we didn't know GIS. We didn't know, in fact, we don't know even up till now. And so the training we should be giving the people to take over from us. That training must involve GIS. It must involve making use of current tools available in tune with the technology we have at this time. This is very, very important. If not, we will not benefit from the revolution or advancement in related sciences. So we must have to join so as to make use of these technologies to improve our skill and get something that is data driven. That is very, very important. Retraining. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. The emphasis is on retraining. So, and that is why ICGN is there. And from time to time, they come up with professional training workshops to ensure that geographers are updated with the trending skills that are available for all the different areas of specialization in geography. I can see Oluwafemi's hand up. Yeah, Oluwafemi, go ahead and let's have your question or contribution.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Thank you for organizing this thing virtually. I think the virtual conference would also enable a lot of some of us where the distance barrier it's not really making it possible for us to attend. So on the issue on ground, if not for GIS, to be candid, geography it's almost getting to an extinction, so to say, because there's GIS, because that word geography in GIS actually revamp geography, especially on the continent of Africa. Though in other sphere of the continent, they still give geography the value that it has. But if not for GIS and what we
Oh, sorry, we lost him. I'm sure he's coming in again, and it's making a very vital point, and we want to take it up with him when he comes in. Yeah, we have a question here. Can the Institute assist as a custodian of weather data, rainfall, temperature, humidity, among others? Yeah, so, okay, Kingsley is answering that question. Yeah, Kingsley, can you unmute and address it?
Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. So although I posted it on the group chat or on the chat already, but I will just verbally say what I posted. So we are, the beauty of GIS is having open data that we can access because thanks to satellite technology that people use of now recent. So for weather data, we have repositories from climate research units, UK. I think it's a department of one of the United Kingdom universities where they run climatic research and drop the data online for people to access. Then we also have NASA Power, which is, I think that one is actually close to, if I'll just confirm, but that is, I think you can actually even get this year's data from NASA Power Data Hub. So that's the one beauty of GIS. You don't need to actually go down to NIMET to request for data, then you get to hear some humongous bills or you just bills like that though, but still it's still fair enough once in a while just for ground truthing. But the beauty of satellite is that without being there, you can actually get to your results that you need to do whatever project you need. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kingsley. And to add to that, ICGN is not shying away from doing more to ensure that data is available to geographers for professional engagement and so on. But we still have a lot to do at ICGN, and our concern is to see how geographers will be professionally relevant in the society, especially in Nigeria, where geography currently is being relegated to the background. So if we provide data, if our focus is providing data and then making it available, it just seems that it might be a replication of what other organizations, global data agencies, and even local data agencies are already doing. We have NIMET, we have the Global Data Depository, like Kingsley just mentioned, that is available. Our problem is that we have not been able to, go online to search for data. That's the problem with most of us. There are a lot of data that is available that you don't know that is there. Go to your LinkedIn, and you have a professional network. By the time you have a professional network on LinkedIn, you will discover that you will be having a lot of free data depositories access, whether for weather data, for hydrological data, and so on, that you can actually use. And once you know how to access them, you find out that you are good to go. You are good to go. And one thing with some of these data depository is that you, as a geographer, also need to start learning some of these trending data science program. A geographer, if you check the curriculum of geography for undergraduates in other universities outside the country, programming is part of it. Simple, using a Python to access data. Every undergraduate geography student, and even professional geographers should have those things, and then know how to, bypass and get what they want. And we have open data depositories that are available. Gone are those days when you talk about shapefile or you talk about rainfall data. I know that in the university here, we used to have a weather officer that on daily basis, he goes with his tools, he collects rainfall, he collects all of that data and record them manually. But now we have, digital tools that get this data on the system, and they are made available. So I'm sure, I think what we will need to do as we move on to next year is to find a way to organize a workshop that will give us expository on how to access data, because other professionals, other professionals or disciplines are already encroaching, and they are accessing this data, and they are shining more than you, the geographers. You talk about the computer scientists. I remember recently one organization, advertised for a GIS analyst, and the requirement there was a BSc computer science. And I was wondering, why would you advertise for a GIS analyst in a power holding organization, and you are putting GIS, BSc computer science as the ideal candidate for that? And at that point, ICGN had to come in and write to that organization that advert should be, withdrawn and corrected, because with BSc Geography, you should be a GIS analyst in any organization. With BSc Geography, you should be a hydrologist. With BSc Geography, you should be in those various positions and so on, that you are now trying to relinquish to all other allied discipline that emerged from geography. And that is why we want to see how we can reposition geography as a discipline, as a profession right here in Nigeria. Because outside the country, US, other continents, geography has its place and it is professionally recognized. So I think I have one of our fellow inductee hand up, right? Dr. Obot Ibanga, did I see your hand up?
Yes, please.
All right, so please go ahead before I keep on. If you allow me, I will take up another section. So, Obot, this is an interactive section. Please, let's all discuss before we round up this section. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Obot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Victor, the national moderator. And the lectures today has been so inciting and so educative. I just want to add to what you've said in regards to the comment on the skills the geographers need. As you've rightly said, there is need for massive change in the way geography is being delivered in our colleges, in our institutions. I can remember when I was undertaking a research, I had a challenge of data. NIMED couldn't provide me with data. And what I did was, I realized that the knowledge I had in my GIS wasn't enough. I had to undertake another training, and that is in data extraction, for able to be able to extract the data I use in my research. So what I want to suggest is that learning, geographers should see themselves as being in continuous learning, continuous update, knowledge updates. For example, a geographer should see himself as someone who could be situated as a data scientist. As you've rightly said, we need a clear understanding of Python because most of the program, most of the data that is available, geospatial data set are being made available using basic Python language. And we need to understand that a geographer needs to know the basis of R software for spatial statistics and data visualization. The use of Google Earth Engine shouldn't be something that should be debated about. The use of SQL applications shouldn't be something that we should push it to the background. Machine learning has come to stay, and it will continue to drive robust decision making in the near future. It will enable geographers to make big data analysis and also make both the data and the result available and also be able to reproduce. It's also essential in informed decisions. So we should never stop learning. We should never stop acquiring new skills. By having that mindset, we'll be able to compete with other geographers elsewhere in the world. Then two, we should also see ourselves as someone who can be take part in a multidisciplinary team. Geographers should move beyond a single domain that, oh, I'm a geographer. We should see ourselves as you can fit into any area, either in health, either in disaster risk management, either in engineering, either in business. There are a lot of opportunities, but it's how we are able to get the needed skills to be able to fit into those key areas. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's have more contribution. Feel free. Okay, let's have from Prof. Then Professor Moduji, and after that, we go to Mr. Emmanuel.
Okay, just a small thing to add. I want to suggest that all these presentations we've made today, together with full text of the papers, there should be a repository of them to be made accessible to people that need such verbal things to do their write-up. Secondly, I was talking about retraining. There's a major area that is coming up now, that is the use of AI in terms of helping us to write. It is an area that needs to be explored so that we can also use that to improve our work. Okay.
All right, Emmanuel, I think I saw his hand up. Okay, yeah, Oluwafemi is back. Can you finish up, please? Thank you.
Thank you
You
so
had a
much.
very vital point you are making.
Yes, thank you. So, though I heard you talking about it. So the issue is geography needs to pick up to come up. And it's something that I just sat down lately and I looked at it. You see the curriculum which is being designed, it's not properly designed for the purpose of development for the African continent. To me, geography and economics should be a mandatory subject alongside mathematics, even at secondary school. It's not supposed to be bargained. Since the 1992 Rio de Janeiro conference, sustainability has been the issue. challenges with the environment for man has been a major thing up to this moment. And if people are not aware of the environment, how would they know that they are causing havoc or they are polluting the environment? And it's better when these subjects are made mandatory. That's when people will be aware of the environment, will be aware of what they do to the environment, which is very important. So it would be nice if there's a way geography can become mandatory subject with economics, because when we're talking about the trend of what is going on, yes, AI is coming in and some other things, but we need to open up the eyes of people about the environment and how they can value what they have. And the only way they can know about the environment, it's by geography. There's no two words about it. And how can they put value to what they have is by knowing the economics. So they can now balance situation with their mathematics. And I'm sorry to say, we're still doing things amiss. We're still insisting on using a foreign language to teach, which we're all aware. In all these developed countries, Japanese are using their language, the Chinese are using their language. I was fortunate to be in India. I see most of them, they're having a way that most of the thing being taught is in their basic language, which gives them a better understanding. They are able to comprehend and they're able to do better. You go to Germany, they even tell you, even when you're applying for schools in most of these Germany, in Sweden, and they will tell you these are English-speaking universities. So which means they still teach up to university level using their own mother tongue. So until this is changed and we realize the value of geography, geography should be mandatory right from secondary school. So these are basic things that I'm looking at. And another thing is the use of GIS should not be a big problem. Initially, it was ArcGIS that is all over, which is very expensive. It's not affordable for an average person. But now with the open source QGIS, it's good. It can give you so many things. When it comes to GIS, what you can do spatially, it's limited to what you know about it. Even they've already incorporated the GUI aspect into it too. So the software should not be an issue. Then, like you've said, data is when you know where to source for data, especially using the remote sensing. I've worked on repository that talks about pollution, oxygen, nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, using Sentinel. Sentinel 5P will give you that. And I've also attended a training 2 days ago, which I've been given certificate. You can even check the level of ocean salinity. And with that, that can also help us to determine there are some aquaculturists who will need that, because level of that salinity will determine types of fish or aquatic, that will be found in some specific area. So that can also help. So the data aspect, I think, is not a big issue. As I speak to you, there's a plugin in QGIS that you can get building footprint, which I've downloaded. But it's large, it's huge. So it's going to burn data. So and that's another major thing. For if you want to cope up with the technology, now be ready. If you're going to learn on your own, be ready to spend money on data. I use the average of data, nothing less than 10,000 in a month. Not for Yahoo, but I want to learn by day. And once you're learning, you have to download video tutorials to help you to get through, or even attending some of these webinars, conferences, and so on. So, like I said, geography has come to stay. With the help of GIS, it has repositioned geography back to where it should be. So what we need to do is just to see that geography becomes a mandatory subject at secondary school, so that the environmental awareness, the issue of environmental issues that we're having, I think that will reduce that, because we know the implication of what we're doing to the environment and what the repercussion will be that the environment will give back to us. So thank you so much, my coordinator and doctor. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before we just have a short break and then we go over to the last segment of this conference and induction ceremony, let's still give some few minutes for some of us to air our views, our contributions, our comments. We can see Lieutenant Saidu Husseini maybe you can give us a perspective of how geography can be positioned in the military, because military geography is there. And yeah, we also have Tinto Abdullahi Tinto. I think he's from one of these West African countries. So maybe you can also talk to us. Let's hear you. How is geography as a discipline, as a profession doing in your country? I don't know if there's okay, Emmanuel Chukwu Emeka's hand is also there. So let's have all of you contribute. Let's hear you. Ogeyi Messi, do you have anything to say? Sunny, and so on. Dr. Hamilton Eba, what do you have to talk to us? What do you have to share? What are your take home from this presentations? Because we are talking about how geography can be repositioned for professional development, regional integration, and societal transformation. And we've been able to look at it from the disaster modeling, geospatial modeling perspective. We've also looked at it from the fluvial geomorphology perspective. And here there are so many other areas that we need to look at. Please, let's hear your contributions, because this is a conference that comes up with some policy making points that will really help us bring up a position paper on how to reposition geography in Nigeria. Yes, so okay, let's hear Emmanuel Chukwueme. Is it Chukwueme? Okay, please go ahead, and then we go over to others. Okay, and we go over to Lieutenant Hussein. Yeah, Emmanuel,
All right,
can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me, please?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, ICGN leadership, for putting together this induction ceremony. I honestly appreciate this, and you, Dr. Victor, thank you so much so far. I listened to my prof, Professor Joel. I was also a student years back in University of Port Harcourt. I've always had these inspiring moments, during the lectures, and they were all insightful. Thank you so much, sir. So mine is more of a little clarity, because I want to know, I need a little clarity on how geographers can be more internationally integrated into national and regional policy formulation, to effectively address, pressing challenges such as rapid urbanization, climate change, land administration, and sustainable development. I listened to Professor Joseph, particularly in the context of data availability. I just need this clarity, data availability, accessibility, standardization, and even evidence-based decision-making across West Africa. Thank you.
All right, that's question is it to Professor Umaduji and Professor Joel, right?
Yes, please.
Professor Udo.
Joseph.
Okay, yeah, okay, to Professor Joseph. You have a question for Professor Umaduji too, right? Okay, so Professor Joseph, go ahead to respond to the question.
Okay. All right. Of course, I'm trying to man. In terms of policy, sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yes, please, sir. I can. So,
yeah,
I started by saying I needed clarity on how geographers can be more internationally integrated into, the national and regional policy formulation to effectively address, these pressing challenges such as rapid urbanization, climate change, land administration. I work in the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development and understand the things they undergo there, and also sustainable development. Now, particularly when you spoke about, highlighted probably on the context of data availability, and accessibility. So, of course, these are all, Thank you very much, sir.
Of course, from what we've discussed so far, lots of data have been out there in the public domain, but my emphasis was tilted towards socioeconomic data. Because I gave the examples of population data, for example, in the past few years, you discover that you only have lump figures for a state, for example, and various parameters like don't actually trickle down to the local level. That was actually my emphasis. I think it is how do we tackle this? Well, it's just for there's some of those policies that are at the point national policies, but you see, as a country develops, as a country, the more a country develops, the more the need for database decision system. As you know, others already said, I've said before, GIS and all these techniques are basically decision support systems. And decision support system in that no matter how robust your GIS system is, it's still not left for policymakers to actually make use of them. So some of this thing will, with over time, because as Nigeria, this is a global, the point we are global community we are all in. The best practices everywhere. There's no way Nigeria can be isolated in terms of certain issues. And of course, the more the more you have advocacy groups, people talking out, people speaking out. Let's see. Subsequently, is no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no need for election if you can collect data from the local level, and I use it for my analysis. I mean, that one. If we, for example, at the end of the day, what we just have is a population for Nigeria, and the minimum mapping unit of such data is the local government, then we are wasting time. We are wasting all that money. If there's a data being collected, maybe through our various census activities, then it should start from the local. I should be able to access such data, village level data, and build it up so that one can actually do meaningful analysis. So there are some of these things that are basically more of policy issues, and that's why geographers have to break into this domain, break into where policies are taken, and of course, from the background of changing, it's very difficult in any aspect of government. There are a lot of things you can't change from the ground up. And that's why geography and policy, you have to, let's break into that level, break into lawmaking, let's push and pursue from that level. There are certain things you can't really change if you are still at that ground level. And let the space be open up for geographers to take in positions of responsibility. And wherever you are, let's push up. Let's make sure we tell our policymakers that you can't just do election and you say certain parameters are out. That, I mean, it's useless. We can't say we will do election and when you come time for the result of election and you start from local government. So what happened to the world? What happened to the local level? So in those kind of policies, things that are policies that we should work towards, even as a professional body. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I can see Lieutenant.
Dr. Victor, please, can I make a comment on what Prof. I just finished saying? Let me put just an add-on quickly, please, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Now, that's one thing that is lacking. You see, sometimes there's what we call public hearing, whereby government wants to take some decision, and which are specially based. geographers need to be present there to show their value. Now, when you're talking about international policies that is affecting us, there's a lot of United Nations conferences on climate change and so on. If geographers doesn't come to the bare front to showcase that they are the major, let's say, team lead, because when we're looking at this environmental issue, it's not only geographer that can solve it, but the geographers must show that they are supposed to be the team lead to coordinate all these activities. There's a lot of United Nations policies which they throw open and they were demanding for people to contribute. So the more the geographers are showing their influence, are showing their value, and noticing where they are coming from, when there are such policies to be implemented at a continental level or at a national level, they'll be called upon. Let me remind us of blessed memory, Professor Mabugunje. You will know that oftentimes when there's a United Nations project dealing with urban planning and so on, they will always refer to him. He's a geographer, which I'm so sure he is also building some other people. So if you have such role model in geography, whom will be getting some of these jobs, who will bring geographers on board to enable them to be part of this policy, drafting and policy making. That's the easiest way that the geographers can come into policy formulation, policy design. So I think it's better we take note of any conferences that is coming up, either at national level, at state level, at local level, or internationally. There should be a forum that the geographers will look for somebody who they think have strength based on that forum to go and represent them. And by the time he tables what he had, they will always recognize the geographers that they own this. They should be the team lead. They should be the major role person to coordinate the activities in those policies making. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, Prof, you have something to say.
Yes. The next thing I want to add is just in line with what the last speaker said. As long as we are in the university system coming up with ideas, our ideas will remain in the shell and nothing will, as long as the ideas don't fly into the national and the international space, they will lie fallow there in the shell. We need politicians. We need geographers. As once geographers enter there, then they will make the recommendations. You will see that the ideas will begin to fly. Just like Mabuku he mentioned, played a lot of role in designing of Abuja. And yet, he was a geographer. But if there was no politician that confront him, then you will see that ordinary engineers and others would have designed the place. R.K. Udo played a major role when he was in the National Population Commission. If not, cartographers won't even be involved in mapping or delineating areas for counting and things like that. So geographers need to be represented at the political realm, because if we have people there, they are the people that will mention us, and then those ideas we have designed that are put in the shelf will fly into the national arena and the international arena. That is it. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. We have the Lieutenant Saidu Husseini, and then Dr. Obot also. Yeah, so can we have you? Yeah, go ahead. Lieutenant Saidu Husseini, you can go ahead, then Dr. Obot.
Good afternoon, our distinguished professors, doctors, and senior colleagues in the House. As I was earlier introduced, I am Lieutenant Said Husseini by name. I am from the Nigerian Navy, and I'm very happy and glad to be in this great body. My little contribution to this aspect, even though I catch up late because I was engaged somewhere officially, but at least I have followed some of the discussions done here in the group. Well, seriously, geography is lagging behind. Fully showcasing ourselves, or we are not fully advocating geography as it should be. In my own organization, military, or let me say Nigerian Navy in particular. Am I loud and clear?
Yes.
Yes, you are. You are.
Thank you, sir. Sir, geography in the military, as earlier discussed, geography should be all encompassing right from the secondary school level. So also in the military, from the highest chain of command, like maybe chief of defense staff, service chiefs, officers, to the least soldier in the military, supposed to have an appreciable knowledge of geography. Because right from the ancient time, geography has been part and parcel of military operations, intelligence gathering, and a lot more. But what we have presently on ground is different from what it should be. A lot of our military casualties are happened because of lack of knowledge of the environment, lack of knowledge of the adversaries, lack of knowledge of maybe compatibility of your weapons to the adversary. And knowledge of geography can help a lot in key information for military operations. So me, my own singular advice, I don't know how this noble body can try and enter military organization, maybe through like each service, Army, Navy, Air Force, we have training branch. And under this training branch, we have many training institutions. So I don't know how this body can maybe liaise with all those military branches, training branches of the military, to at least try and see how they can incorporate operational geography into our military operation, which I think it will help a lot in our national security. If we take like intelligence gathering, surveillance, and reconnaissance, geography, if it's not everything, but it has a key role to play in that aspect. Like all this operational planning and battlefield awareness. Yes, before you go into the problem we are having in all these forests, where bandits are hiding, where criminalities are going. You see, we the military, we are not the local of that community. The people that are operating in that place, they have more knowledge of that environment than you. So you that you are entering into the place in the first place to go and do operation in that place, definitely you are limited with certain routes, with certain environmental realities, like even weather of the place, like the access route where you can access the criminals and what have you. But if you have knowledge of geography, maybe through modern all these GIS, even if you are not from the environment, but at least you can have, I hope I'm communicating, you can have at least, it will aid you, like it will serve as your aid to conduct your operation. Then threat assessments and risk mapping. Yes, if you have knowledge of all these, their hideout, their positions, at least you can be able to draw your risk mapping. When you're advancing the operation, at least that one will aid you where to pay more attention, like all this bombing, all these ambush operations as you are just advancing. So there are a lot of things to know, even though there are some a military operation that you cannot predict until when you are in the field. But at least if you have that knowledge, it will help you to plan your operation very well and to reduce your casualty. Then environmental and terrain analysis. Like in the Navy too, we have navigation and direction. That is how we sail our ships, how we navigate our ships in at sea. This navigation and direction is purely geography, but our president is lacking. That's why we have a lot of, I cannot say issues, but lapses. We have a lot of lapses that maybe with knowledge of geography, we can be able to complement that. So I think this Institute of Chartered Geographers of Nigeria is not a small organization. We can blow, we can enter anywhere, we can make a big impact more especially in the military. I think if we are ready for that, we can see how we can just chat ourselves through. Me, one of them, we can at least see how we can be reaching out to all those military institutions, to all this our service something. I think we are going to make a difference there. Sorry, lastly, I don't want to talk much for one of time. There is one key aspect that is coming up in Nigeria, even though it has gone far worldwide, but in Nigeria, we are just getting to know about it. That is the field of hydrography. Hydrography is like opposite of land surveying. How you survey your lands, how you locate resources on land, how you all these boundary delineations on land. While hydrography is the same in water. We have a lot of uncharted waters, a lot of boundary issues. So now hydrography is coming up because Navy now recently acquired modern hydrography vessels like NNS, Nigerian Navy ship Lana, Nigerian Navy ship Uchuzo, and recently there is an establishment of National Hydrographic Agency, which is like an agency that is overseeing hydrographic developments in the country. So in that agency too, it's a very lucrative place, and it's also like geography, but I'm not seeing our geographers there. So I think there is need for us to reach out to those agencies to see how we can collaborate, how they can explore geography, and also how we can contribute because it's a national development. Worldwide, like all this chart making, before you sail to any place in the world, you must have a chart, like a map that can guide you to that place. And that map are produced or they are being made by what? By hydrographers. How you map your seabeds so that if you have a ship of certain keel clearance, it can pass this place, it cannot pass this place. Then if you have any wreck in a particular place, okay, by that your knowledge of hydrography, you can okay, this place is not safe for navigation, all those things. It's coming up. It's a knowledge that we have international hydrographic organization that is worldwide. If you are not satisfied by that organization, you can never make any chart. Your ship can never carry out any survey that will be accepted worldwide. So these two aspects, creating more awareness of geography in military operations through our training institutions, our branch training ships, then let's see how we can explore this hydrography that is just coming up. There are a lot of opportunities in that hydrography. It's a worldwide organization. It's coming up. There is huge resources in it. Not even Nigerian government. Nigerian government is investing hugely, but worldwide there is a movement to invest in that aspect. That's just my own few contributions. I have plenty, but for the one of time, maybe if there's any next gathering, at least we can articulate ourselves and give a better input. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk in this noble house. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, Dr. Boots, it looks like you wanted to add a voice. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Morning. I just want to add few contributions. Geographers, we can be everywhere. Most of the things that make geographers to be seen in policy decision areas or policy implementation is what I identify is the issue of lack of or insufficient networking. If we are networked with the right people, I mean, connected to, sometimes we need to be politicians, but we need to also get connected to these politicians. If we are connected to these politicians, we can be integrated into decision making or policy aspect. Let me use myself as a critical example. Edo State Development Master Plan on Agriculture and Rural Development. When the former governor inaugurated the committee to come up with Edo State Vision 2050. I am not an Edo person, but because I had the right network, I was connected to the committee and the team members, and I was given the opportunity to develop the master plan for agriculture and rural development. I'm a geographer. I used my knowledge of rural geography to come up with a 30-year development master plan that is currently piloting the driving agriculture and rural development in Edo State. So networking is very important. When we are attending conferences, seminars, we should be going there with our profile. We should be going there with our complimentary cards. We should make a deliberate effort to make ourselves accessible, available. If you don't tell somebody this is what you can do, nobody can by intuition or by it's okay, this person can do this thing, can do. No, you have to tell somebody I can do this, I can do this. By so doing, then we make ourselves consciously and intentionally available. Like what Dr. Victor has been emphasizing, post this on LinkedIn, on social media platform. Yes, most geographers doesn't the digital availability is reduced. Geographers need to make themselves available in the digital platform by showcasing yourself, telling the world what you can do. By so doing, we can naturally be integrated into the scheme of things. Then, in addition, I want to chip into what Professor Joel lecture. He made a very important lecture on fluvial landscape, watershed governance, and the future of geography in West Africa. I want to add to what the prof said, the role of retention and detention pond. Why I bring up this issue? There was a student I supervised, an undergraduate student. It became a subject of debate in my department whether retention pond is a geographic problem. So it took some level of explanation before the student was allowed to continue in that research. Retention pond is a governance-focused landscape that need to be looked into when we are talking about a fluvial landscape. Though it's an artificial.
The recording has stopped.
Though it's an artificial feature.
This meeting is being recorded.
In terms of planning and regulation, there is need for retention fund to be integrated into watershed management and governance. In terms of the engineering standard, in terms of institutional authority, in terms of the political and economic priorities, they represent decision about risk. They represent decision about responsibility. And they represent decision about how water is being controlled. They are also areas in terms of where are we citing a detention or retention pond. What is going to be the effect of this retention pond on the immediate environment? And what can we leverage on this retention pond? So I think overall governance decisions need to there's need to integrate retention pond into watershed management, and this will help in bringing up an integrated and more comprehensive water governance that will not only save the local economy, but the national and West Africa in general. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Obot Ibanga. Can we just have a brief from Tinto? Tinto, are you there?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Tinto Abdullah from Burkina Faso.
Okay.
I would like to sincerely thank to the keynote speaker and all the organizing committees to the high quality presentation. So the discussion were very enriching and highly relevant to the future of geography in West Africa. In what is concerned to me in Burkina Faso, we can say that geographic is increasingly valued as a practical tools for the development and decision making. It's play an important role in urban planning, environmental management, agriculture, and water in energy management through to the use of GIS and geospatial data. Geography contributes to mapping infrastructures, managing natural resources, assessing climate risk, and supporting public policies. However, there is still a need to the future strengthening professional training, promote applying for geographic sky, and improve to the integration of geospatial data into national and regional development strategies. So I thank all of you, and that's why it was so fantastic, and I'm so proud to take part to this conference. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Abdullah Tinto from Burkina Faso. That brings in the West Africa subcontinent perspective of this conference. I don't know, is there any other person joining from any other West African country here? Any other person? All right, so I will just have a brief transitional break, stretch out yourself, and then we'll go over to the induction ceremony. Okay, we still have Lufuafemi and Paul. You have something to say. And Dr. What's his name? I think he wanted to say something. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Doc. For the lieutenant on the platform, I can categorically tell you that I know the military is doing a lot. And the reason why I'm saying so is because I have personally trained some people were in the institution that I'm working. And I've also been fortunate to also do some mapping for the military, which is for the army, because they have the mapping unit, which is at Owode-Yewa, which is called the Directorate of Army and Mapping Unit at Ogun State there. So I know there's a lot which is going on. The only thing that the geographers need to do is to make sure that the geographers are taking their position. And there's no way we can have a military success without having a good understanding of the terrain. And fortunately for me, I've also supervised a student who is a military personnel who actually did something on terrain analysis, which I was able to help him to see how 3D can be modeled, where you can see where your friends are, where your foes are, the better side which you can approach. So the only thing that I think the institute need to do, just like he has promised, if there's a way that the institute can have a way through their training division, so that from time to time we can be called upon to do some training for them. So I will be glad if that opportunity is there, so that I can also contribute from what I've learned so far. Thank you so much, Doc. And thank you to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I hope we have exhausted our contribution. Okay, we still have Khalid Usam now. All right, just a brief one. Let's hear your voice.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Good evening, everyone. Or good afternoon, let me just say. Sorry for this. Our contribution is that we learn a lot from this conversation, and there are a lot of enriching topics and also contributions from many doctors and colleagues. One thing that I wanted to add is that the curriculum issues, I mean, the sport that geography should be gesture seriously, be put to be a compulsory subject right from the secondary school, so that our whole society will benefit and learn a lot from there. And there are a lot of challenging issues. There are a lot of challenging issues concerning these issues that has to do with security, issues that have to do with environmental pollutions and the rest like that. With the knowledge of geography, I believe our whole society will be able to learn a lot and know how to take care of their own environment seriously. And I really commend the efforts of this great organization by putting this conference and look forward to joining more of these kind of conferences so that we learn a lot. Thank you very much.
ba ta shiga shi kuma abokina wanda muke shago ɗaya a nan ba ta cin shi kuma tuzuran su suna da yawa kaga mutum ba za ka kira shi ba ka ce bi ka saboda lokacin ba ko da yaushe nake zuwa batan bane ba can wajen na fi ɗan harkokin nawa a nan amma dai tunda abin ya kai ga hakan dole a kuma zai ko su ne rika kashewa in ji su ne yake wallahi na yi tunanin jiya wato bari in
Okay. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay,
I can hear
beautiful.
you, Doc.
Sorry, challenge sorted out. I hope you were able to conclude your contribution. Oluwafemi, right?
Yes,
All right. So
I've concluded. It's I think it's
okay,
Khalid.
beautiful. So beautiful. So let's just take the next. Okay, so is it possible to get your contacts? I need guide. I applied for ICGN membership. Yes, you can. Grace, drop my number on the chats. Grace, I hope you're still there. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll drop my number again. So let's just take the next screenshot photograph, and then we move over to the induction section, and we'll be able to close up. We just have about 1 hour to go. We are supposed to close by 2 p.m. So let's see how we can run along, and probably before 2 p.m. we are done. Yeah, let's have a next screenshot of photograph. You can unmute your video. I want your speakers Imodoji for being there and the keynote presentation from him. We want to also appreciate distinguished Professor Joseph Odo, who also made his own keynote presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for all the contributions you've made. We at ICGN we can come up with a year planner to ensure that we have a more active advocacy that will reposition geography as a profession in Nigeria, and to be on board to work with us. Just like Lieutenant Hussein mentioned, we're going to look into our geographic area and see how we can have some training workshop for those in the military. We'll see how we can also provide some mandatory professional training workshop at the state level. So we all need every one of you to be on board so that we work together and ensure that we drive drastic repositioning of geography for professional development, um, um, societal transformation, regional integration in West Africa. So, yeah, so unmute your video and we take the screenshot. Yeah, Grace, you can take this photograph. You can also take this screenshot photograph and post on your LinkedIn, post on your social media, tag ICGN, tag the keynote speakers, tag your institution, and let them know that we are globally visible at ICGN. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm sure the screenshots have been taken. Yeah, those who are not able to unmute is already captured. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Grace, are you done with the screenshots? Okay. All right. So we will move over to the last segment of this conference and induction, and that's the induction ceremony. Yeah, I hope all our inductees are available now. We need every one of you. We have 7 inductees, and we have 10 full member inductees. We have 10 full member inductees. So, and I will be conducting that by the authority granted to me to preside over this. So, distinguished inductees, we are going to have a recitation of ICGN professional code and code of conduct. And this recitation of this professional code of conduct is a formal and mandatory part of your induction into the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria. This recitation signifies your commitment to uphold the values, ethics, and professional responsibility of the Institute. So I will first invite the fellow awardees to take the recitation, followed thereafter by the full members. So if you are for the fellow awardee, please unmute your video and you can raise your digital hand. We have Tona Babatunde Godonu. We have Toby Ola Tokumbo Sowole. We have Ugochukwu Ugonna Okonkwo. We have Moro Otuawe. We have Obot Akpan Ibanga. And we also have my humble self, Victor N. Sunday. And we have Hamilton Eba. So these are the 7 inductees for fellow awardee, for this year. And we are going to take it together. May I kindly request all the fellow awardees to indicate their readiness and repeat after me. Are you all there? Yes, the fellow awardees, if your name was mentioned, kindly unmute. Yeah, kindly unmute your video. You can raise your digital hand. And let's see your face. Let's see your digital hand. And you're going to repeat after me. All right, so we take it under the authority granted to me as a fellow of the Institute of Certified Geographers. You can unmute and repeat after me, please. We are in for induction of the fellows. Are we good to go? Unmute and let's hear you. 1, 2, go. Under the authority granted to me as a fellow of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria.
Under the authority.
Please take it small.
I repeat after me. 1, 2. Under the authority granted to me as a fellow of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria.
under the authority granted to me as the
the Institute of Nigerian Geography.
I solemnly pledge to promote.
I solemnly
pledge to promote
the noble cause of the Institute.
The noble
the
cause of
noble cause of the Institute.
And to defend.
And to defend.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
The professional integrity of the Institute.
The professional integrity of the Institute.
In the performance of my duties.
In the performance of my
duties.
I shall ensure that work undertaken by those under my supervision is performed honestly, responsibly, and effectively.
No, please
I
take
shall
it.
ensure that works undertaken under my supervision are performed honestly and with integrity.
I shall embrace transparency of thoughts and action.
I shall embrace
transparency of thoughts and action.
In all professional decisions.
In all
professional decisions.
And shall refrain from fraudulent or unethical practices.
I shall refrain from fraudulent or unethical practices.
Within my scope of authority.
Within my scope of authority.
I shall act as an environmental advisor.
I shall act as an environmental advisor.
To federal, state, and local governments.
To federal, state, and local
governments.
Whenever my professional service is required.
Whenever my professional service is required.
I shall display a high sense of professionalism.
I shall display a high sense of professionalism.
In handling spatial and environmental matters. With the operational guidelines and standards of the Institute.
With the operational guidelines and standards of the Institute.
I shall respect the confidentiality of information.
I shall respect the confidentiality of information.
Entrusted to me by associates.
Entrusted to me by associates.
Staff and members of the Institute.
Staff and members of the Institute.
I shall comply with the laws of the country.
I shall comply with the laws of the country.
In which I serve in all matters relating to the Institute.
In which I serve in all matters relating to the Institute.
I shall maintain professional competence.
I shall maintain professional competence.
In the conduct of my activities and employments.
In the conduct of my activities and employments.
I shall at all times respect, uphold, and defend.
I shall at all times uphold and defend
the professional code of conduct of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria.
The professional code of conduct of Certified Geographers of Nigeria.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I shall at all times respect, uphold, and defend. So help me God.
Thank you very much. So by this solemn recitation, I formally admit you as fellows of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto. Congratulations. So we go over to the full members. So if you're a full member inductee, may I now invite you to indicate your readiness as you repeat after me.
I share it now.
We have the full members.
No, I'm okay.
The full member inductee. Are you all there? Are you ready? Okay, let me drop this on the group. Let me drop it on the group so it will be easier. Sorry, I didn't drop it on time. All right, are we ready? Yeah, all the full member inductees, we have their names. Yeah, Dr. Obot, you can, lower your hand now. Or is it okay? We have the following full member inductees. We have Odigwe Chigozie Monday. We have Najib Abdul Salam Sule. We have Shamaki Isa Zakaria. We have Ekbenu Ukendilim Maureen. We have Sani Abdul Karim. We have Bademe Solomon Ofure. We have Abdullahi Tanko. We have Gloria Uche Fayomi. We have Saidu Husseini. And then we have Emmanuel Chukwu Elofun Name Okafo. Yeah, these are the 10 inductees we have for this year. So we go over to have the recitation. Are we ready? All right, so indicate, indicate your digital hand and then unmute your video. And as you repeat after me, under the authority granted to me as a fellow of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria.
As a member of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria,
I solemnly pledge to promote the noble cause of the Institute and to uphold its professional integrity in the performance of my duties.
I solemnly pledge to promote the noble cause of the Institute and to uphold his professional integrity in the performance of my duties.
I shall conduct my professional activities honestly, transparently, and free from fraudulent practices.
I shall conduct my professional activities honestly, transparently, and free from fraudulent practices.
I shall display professionalism in handling spatial and environmental matters in line with the operational guidelines and standards of the Institute.
I shall display professionalism in handling spatial and environmental matters in line with the operational guidelines and standards of the Institute.
I shall respect the confidentiality of information entrusted to me by associates, staff, and members of the Institute.
I shall respect the confidentiality of information entrusted to me by associates, staffs, and members of the Institute.
I shall comply with the laws of the country in which I serve in relation to the Institute.
I shall comply with the laws of the country in which I serve in relation to the Institute.
I shall maintain professional competence in the conduct of my activities and employments.
I shall maintain professional competence in the conduct of my activities and employment.
I shall respect, uphold, and observe at all times the professional code of conduct of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria.
I shall respect, uphold, and observe at all times the professional code of conduct of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So, as the presiding officer, by this recitation, I formally admit you as full members of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria and welcome you into the community of professional geographers. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
So may I congratulate all inductees and remind you that the words you have just recited bind you to a lifetime of professional integrity, service, and excellence in geography. Congratulations to both the fellow inductees and both the distinguished fellows of ICGN that have just been inducted and are full members. Congratulations and go to serve as a professional geographer. So can we give a round of applause, everyone? Let's just clap for everyone. Let's clap for everyone. Yeah, with that, we are coming to the close of this program. And on behalf of the DG, I'll just give who is unavoidably absent right now. I'll give a charge to the inductees, and after that we have a vote of thanks from the speakers, from the inductees, and the participants, and we'll be able to close. Yeah. So let me take the charge to the inductees from the DG. Okay, on behalf of the DG, Professor Balogun Christopher, I, Dr. Victor Sunday, standing to give this charge to the inductees during this ICGN 2025 virtual conference and induction ceremony. Distinguished inductees, newly admitted fellows, and professional members of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Governing Council and leadership of the Institute, I congratulate you all. I congratulate you on your successful induction today. You have been carefully assessed and found worthy based on your academic qualification, professional competence, experience, and integrity to be admitted into this noble professional body. Your induction today is not merely a recognition of your past achievement, but a call to a higher responsibility. From this moment, you are ambassadors of the geography profession and representative of ICGN in your various fields of endeavor. As fellows and professional members, you are expected to uphold the highest standard of professional ethics and integrity, apply geographic knowledge responsibly in the service of society, promote evidence-based decision-making in policy, planning, and environmental management and development, and then mentor young geographers and contribute to capacity development within the profession. Support the Institute objective programs and regulatory standard. You must remember that geography as a discipline sits at the intersection of people, place, environment, and technology. In a time of climate change, environmental degradation, disasters, insecurity, and development challenges, society looks increasingly to professionals like you for solutions that are spatially informed, socially sensitive, and ethically grounded. Membership of ICGN therefore places you on the obligation to conduct yourself in a manner that will enhance the credibility, relevance, and public trust of the geography profession in Nigeria and across West Africa. I encourage you to remain active within the Institute, participate in its program, contribute to research and professional practice, and work collaboratively with colleagues across disciplines and borders. Once again, I congratulate you on this well-deserved honor. May your induction today mark the beginning of greater service, deeper impact, and lasting contribution to the profession and to the society. Congratulations and welcome to the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria. With these responsibilities before you, I formally charge you to go forth and practice geography and enhance integrity and commitment to your societal transformation. Congratulations once again and welcome to ICGN. So finally, we will take the vote of thanks from inductees. If we have any speaker here, yeah, vote of thanks, and then from participants. So let's have from the speaker, Professor Joseph Udo, and then we'll have a vote of thanks from one of the fellow inductee, and then one from a full member inductee. Yeah, can we go ahead, Professor Joseph Udo?
Okay. Well, I want to thank the Institute for having me. It's been a pleasure sharing my passion, what we've been teaching and sharing over these years. You have offered a platform to share about my profession to a larger audience. So I want to thank you. And maybe he has encouraged me to one of these days think of being a fellow or something. Thank you, Dr. Victor, Professor Balogun. Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And of course, I believe in future, I will have more opportunity to share with you. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, can we have one fellow inductee? Yeah. Yeah, one of the fellows that have been inducted, no longer inductee. Fellow, yeah, fellow awardee, you have been awarded already. Yeah. Yes, who is there?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
This Babatunde. I don't know. I'm one of these fellows. I really appreciate
a distinguished fellow.
Yes, distinguished fellows. Thank you. I really appreciate today's lecture and the conference. It was a nice one. And I also wish we could all meet in the next, maybe in 2026, when we can meet physically, not just on Zoom, which would be appreciated. Thank you very much for the coordination of this conference and the lecture. I appreciate everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Dr. Fayomi Gloria, can you talk to us on behalf of the full fellows? Are you there? Let's hear a gender-balanced voice. I hope you are still there, Dr. Fayomi Gloria. Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to appreciate the organizers of the event, the professors, the doctors, and every other members present, especially the guest speakers for the insightful and impactful teachings today. I would want to say that I'm honored today to be a member, and I've actually gained a lot. Thank you for this program. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And participants from outside the country, Tinto, can we hear your voice again? Vote of thanks. Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you for this kind of organization. It's good. So I can say that if all another country like Burkina Faso, Benin, if they organize something like this, I can say that in the world, well, even if to drink water, we are going to talk about geospatial data or information before drinking this water. So I can say in Nigeria, you do all your best to put something in Africa. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tinto, for joining us from Burkina Faso, and we look forward to enlarging this kind of conference to capture more West African countries so that we can chart the way forward for the future of geography in the subcontinent. I want to appreciate every one of you for joining us at this year 2025 ICGN conference and induction, virtual conference and induction. Yes, we actually plan to host this conference physical, in fact, hybrid, both physical and virtual, so that, but because of the insecurity situation in the country, we did not want to, have every one of us face that challenge. And that is why the DG decided that it should be a virtual one. Certainly, we do have a physical conference, physical induction, and in the upcoming year, we will certainly do that. And in the coming year also, we'll have series of virtual and physical events that will be going on within the country. And so we would love you to chat us, send us a message, and let us know where you are, and then how you can work with us to ensure that we keep the society's mandate active and drive an advocacy to reposition geography for professional development in the country. We want to appreciate the planning committee and everyone that has been on board in the past few weeks to see that this event come to pass. Our DG, Professor Christopher Balogun, want to appreciate him, want to appreciate our secretariat staff, Joy Wadi, and Grace Martin Atali, who is also here on here with us, trying to work that is here with us, working at the background, getting the screenshots and so on. I want to also appreciate all our inducted fellows and full members, and all our speakers today. You've all joined hands to make this virtual event very, very successful. And all our participants that join us from different parts of the country and outside the country. Thank you, everyone. And I want to wish you the rest of the year a very successful ending of 2025, as we look forward to seeing again in 2026, and we'll be coming up with different programs for our fellows, distinguished fellows, like I mentioned in your group. Please get ready to have your distinguished geography professional lecture series. You will send us the topic you want to speak to, and then the months that you are going to take. That will be convenient so that we can have a good planning and then be able to schedule you. That's DGLS. It's a platform that helps to spotlight our distinguished fellows and then give them opportunity to contribute professionally to policy making documents that that will make geography be relevant in the corridors of power. So we look forward that you will send in your topics and then the month so that we can start planning ahead. We also look forward that we are going to have a stakeholders workshop training and so on next year. So, but we all need everyone to work together. So send in, let us know where you are. If you need us to organize a workshop for the secondary school teachers, you need us to organize a workshop for in-house. Please feel free to communicate to us. We are available and we are ready to work together so that we can keep charting the course to keep geography alive, one profession, one planet Earth, and one future. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this today. Shall we have a closing prayer and we call it a day? We started with prayer and we can end up. So anyone, please volunteer, go ahead and let's have a closing prayer. Thank you. I hope I was heard. Any volunteer?
In Jesus' name. Our Heavenly
Amen.
Father, we thank you. We thank you for a successful virtual conference and induction. Thank you for the wisdom you gave unto the leadership of ICGN to carry out this timely conference and induction. Lord, we thank you for all the keynote speakers. Continually make them successful in all their endeavors. All those that have been inducted, the fellows and full members, help us, O God, to be financially buoyant to also drive the success of this association. And Lord, help us never to fail in all that we lay our hands to do, to the glory of your holy name. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Let's interact. Let's have you introduce yourself. Let's know where you are joining us from, and so on. And feel free. Yeah, I can see in Freka George. Where are you joining us from? Adeyemi Joseph. Yeah, thank you. Fashola Sadite. Yeah, can you let us know where are you joining us from?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is George. So I'm joining from Nigeria. I'm also here to support one of the keynote speakers who happen to be my professor in my department, Department of Geography and Natural Resources Management from University of Nigeria. I'm happy to be here. I think I'll consider being a fellow member soon. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. So we look forward to getting you inducted next year. Yeah, Messi Telu, where are you joining us from?
All right.
Okay, Adeyemi, go ahead.
All right.
Adeyemi, go ahead. Yeah.
Good afternoon. I want to appreciate everyone for your contribution. I'm actually joining from Taraba State, Nigeria. And as I earlier, Dr. Vincent, I need your contact, please. So that we're able to communicate further after the meeting. Thank you, sir.
All right. So, who next? Oluwafemi.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. The name is Oluwafemi Idowu Adetimirin. I'm joining from Oyo Town, Oyo State, Nigeria. I work with Federal School of Survey in Oyo with the PGD GIS. and also seconded to photogrammetry remote sensing just last year. Thank you so much.
That's interesting. I think that school is in the process of becoming a full-fledged federal university.
Yes,
And
Federal University of Technology.
That's good.
Or Geospatial Sciences and
That's
Arts.
good. That's good. That's good. So, who next? Messi Tenu, right? Joseph Oko. Yes, feel free to. Okay, Tona Babatunde, go ahead. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Lagos.
All right.
From Lagos.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. You can unmute your video, take screenshots, send to your Lieutenant Saidu. Your hand is up. Go ahead. Where are you
Yes, sir.
joining us from?
I remain Lieutenant Said Husseini from Nigerian Navy. I'm calling from Naval Headquarters, Abuja. I sincerely appreciate this institute for the organization, the timely delivery of the induction, and we wish everybody well in our future endeavors in our various places of work, and also extend our warm regards to the DG. And we hope to see more from this institute. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. You can unmute and let's see your faces and let us know where you're joining us from. Who else? Emmanuel Chukwu. Yeah, go ahead, speak to us. Good. Joseph Iko, Messi, Mohammed. Go ahead. Yeah, Dr. Moro Otuawe. Go ahead, tell us where you're joining from.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Otuawe Moro. I'm happy to be here. I'm out of station. I'm joining from Ogun State, though I'm a Port Harcourt-based person with Rivers State University. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right. Emmanuel Chukwemeka, you want to say something?
Thanks, Doctor. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Emmanuel Chukwu Elofunemokafo. So, first of all, I really want to appreciate the leadership of the ICGN for putting together this ceremony. It was indeed an insightful moment. And I'm also proud to be an associate member of the Institute of Certified Geographers of Nigeria. I'm connecting from Abuja. I'm privileged to work with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development there. And a lot has been learned here, honestly, which we pray that God will give us the grace to stand firm in this profession. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Messi Telu Fashola Sai. Can we hear you? Sani Abdullah Kiri. Can we hear you? Yes.
Yeah, Messi Telu.
Okay.
Calling from Yanagwa, Bayelsa State.
Wow.
Lecturer in Polytechnic, Ekewi, and Nigerian Cartographic Association of Nigeria. I hope to be a registered association next year.
That's great. That's
Thanks,
great. Thank you for joining. Okay, I can see Joseph Iko's hand up and Sani, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Iko, connecting from Uyo, Akwa State, Nigeria. I'm so privileged to be here. I'm connecting on behalf of my professor, Professor Joseph Udo, from the Department of Geography and National Resources Management, University of Uyo. I'm so glad to be here. I've learned a lot and the whole webinar has been so insightful. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see Dr. Fayomi's hand up. Yeah, and Dr. and Sani Abdul Karim. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Fayomi Gloria Uchi. I'm presently connecting from Ogun State. However, I work with University of South Africa as a researcher. We're presently in Ogun State. Thank you.
You are welcome. Yeah, Sani Abdul Karim.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm Captain Sana Abdul Karim from Nigerian Army.
All right. Oluwayemisi, go ahead. Oluwayemisi. Adesegun, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's see you.
Good afternoon to every one of us. God bless us. I really enjoy myself. Sincerely, this is going to be my first time joining the group. My name is Kamplana Oluwayemisi Taiwo. Presently live at Ogun State and work at Ogun State with Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. I'm a town planner and at the same time an administrator. I wish to join more. Thank you. I thank God for all the speakers. I enjoyed myself and I take note of everything that I needed to take note of. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I hope everyone, you've had the opportunity to introduce yourself. I've dropped the slide from Professor Umaduji on the chat, Zoom chat. I will also drop it on the group. I also noticed that the president of ANG, Association of Nigerian Geographers, has also sent a request for us to drop the deliberation of this conference, the induction for them, for everyone to access. So you can see that we actually made a very relevant publicity about this conference. We are all working together. We are all working together to ensure that geography as a profession stands relevant in society transformation. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has had the opportunity to introduce yourself. Let me also share the slide from Professor Joseph. And for those who ask questions, I want to also emphasize that ICGN, it's not limited or restricted to those in the academia. No, please. It's for everyone. In fact, we are more consciously, out to make sure that all the geographers who are in the civil service, who are in the industry, are part of this because we want to carry them along. So it's not about just conference paper presentation for those in academics. No, we are more passionate to ensure that geographers in all the spheres of the society are carried along and are made relevant. So it's an institute that is meant for anyone that is affiliated with the profession of geography or has a degree in geography. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let me get this share with us so you can quickly download.